Alright, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I am back with another AlphaStar commentary. I think the previous video I did was a ZVZ, the one before that a TVT, so by the natural progression of things, it's time for a Protoss versus Protoss. However, in the common sense, it is not a player versus player, it is a player versus AI. And so, we are on the map Cyber Forest. It's going to be a PvP. AlphaStar in the top left. Going to be taking on a Masters Protoss in the bottom right. And this should be a fun one, as always, with AlphaStar. It's generally pretty fun. There's usually something that we get to see that really makes us go, what? So, we're just going to keep our eyes on how these players are playing. One thing I noticed about AlphaStar is that it consistently, in PvP, does not go for a high ground wall off, usually. Which I think is something that's always curious. It's going for like its own sort of pseudo wall here, but it does not wall off the top of its ramp right away like a lot of players do. Ultimately, I don't think it's anything too game-changing, but we'll just keep an eye on the game and where it's going to go from there. So far, AlphaStar is actually just going to be going for a very fast gateway expand, not even fully saturating its gas right out the gate. And then just a gateway into Nexus, no wall off. This is what's considered a very risky play in a PvP, so AlphaStar going to be having a bit of a risky play going on so far, as PvP is all about hyper aggression. Like it's the matchup which you take an expansion, probably the latest consistently, as it can just turn lethal so quickly. And that Nexus, since Protoss units are expensive, that's like 2-3 units or so worth of, and that in a mirror matchup can completely change the game. So we're just going to keep an eye on how the game is going to progress from here. But AlphaStar tends to have a knack to get away with things, the cheeky little devil. So it's probably just going to be fine, not get punished or anything like that. But, oh, hold on. Maybe I spoke too soon. A proxy pylon is going on up for the Protoss player. And we're just going to see where the game's going to go from here. A proxy pylon with a full wall off in the main base. I'm not sure what build this Masters Protoss is going to be bringing out, but it could be a bit aggressive. Alright, there is a pylon that was cancelled there, so he doesn't actually let that finish up. He's going to make 2 more stalkers, and then he's going to throw up a proxy gateway. So this is just a big old proxy gateway attack versus AlphaStar. And ladies and gentlemen, as per usual in these videos, just for the fun of it, I know sometimes I meme on how many likes we should try and get. Seeing as how I think this is going to be like a proxy 4 gate, let us try and hit 400 likes, or 40, or 4. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, we take a look here. The Stalker's going to be getting pushed back by these Adepts. Thankfully for the Adepts, AlphaStar committed to a shield battery, but this is generally what you consider a worst-case scenario whenever you're opening on up in Starcraft 2 with a fast Nexus like AlphaStar has here in this PvP, because AlphaStar really doesn't have a ton of units to its name right now. It's making a single Phoenix, throwing up more shield batteries, but there's essentially nothing for AlphaStar. AlphaStar should just be dead to rights this game. If this Protoss player knows how far he can commit on in, he should just keep churning out units and just keep pushing on in, but he's actually not. He's just going for a Nexus behind this, so really hampering his push a little bit and not committing too much into this. But in reality, AlphaStar has like no units, literally 2 Phoenix and an Adept. Even with shield battery support, that is nothing. So this Protoss player, we'll see if he is able to keep this going and is able to kill off AlphaStar. That Phoenix is getting healed by the shield battery, so gaining a lot of HP there. The Probe's even being kept alive by the shield battery. But still, there's not even that much for AlphaStar as this attack just continues on. Does this Protoss player just keep warping in more and more units? Looks like he's going to lose a Stalker. The Probe actually getting some good surface area on the Stalkers. But, I mean, this is a lot of damage getting done by the Protoss player. Probes are dying in droves for AlphaStar, however. That double Nexus, constant probe production as always, because it is AlphaStar. AlphaStar makes workers so consistently. And a good focus fire there from AlphaStar, focusing down that injured Stalker. But still, I mean, it's simply like 6 Stalkers versus a couple of Phoenix and one other Stalker. So Alpha, or this Protoss player, you think would be able to keep pushing here, but the fact that he didn't commit more into this push is really giving AlphaStar time to I guess, hold on. Ultimately, AlphaStar isn't actually doing a lot to hold on. I mean, really just making more Phoenix, 1 or 2 Stalkers at a time. This pylon is about to go down. Looks like the Protoss player is actually going to step forward and just commit on in, but then he pulls back. A lot of middle of the road, a lot of middle roading it going on from the red Protoss player. And as a result, he hasn't really been able to keep pushing. He's kind of making probes back at home. He's got his Nexus finished up. I think he just didn't expect this push to keep going on. I don't think he expected AlphaStar to be so underprepared. But all of a sudden, he gets repelled. And let's pull up that unit's loss tab. 11 Stalkers died. And, I mean, 19 probes died as well. A couple of Phoenix, the Adepts. But the fact that AlphaStar was able to hold that really is impressive for the AI. And this Protoss player, I definitely think, could have honestly just won the game there had he committed a little bit more. Alright, so the game's kind of settled a little bit right now. There is Blink for the Stalkers for this Protoss player. Behind this, he got up a Twilight Council, so he should be blinking underneath these Phoenix now that he's got that. There we go. He might get one of the Phoenix, that would be nice. Lowering their numbers is always good. And then we'll just keep an eye on where the game's going to go from there. The Protoss player could always just go for another attack, just with Blink this time, and he's actually going to move out on the map, so I think he is planning that. There's not a lot for AlphaStar back at home still. I mean, there's a couple of shield batteries that were worth their weight in gold, 4 as a matter of fact, but there's still not a lot for AlphaStar out on the map. So with more Stalkers warping on in, this Protoss player says, alright, let's do this. Round 2, fight! The Stalkers blink forward. They just immediately focus down 2 of the Stalkers for AlphaStar. Great play by the Protoss player. He can now pull back his Stalkers against the probe, gunning down more and more of them. This other Phoenix flies over the top. That's going to get picked off. And there's consistent warpings from this Protoss player. I think he should be able to keep this attack going, but he's not doing that. He's going to pull home and actually throw up a 3rd base. Oh my gosh, AlphaStar is being so lucky, just operating on blind faith from this Protoss player that there'd be something coming out, or that makes it not worth it for him to attack. This Protoss player is just playing with fire. He's now going to warp in a couple of Adepts to try and harass, but I mean, as far as actually attacking in goes, I think he definitely had the opportunity. Now that there's going to be an Immortal out for AlphaStar, there really isn't an opportunity. As 1 Immortal and 5 shield batteries, 6 shield batteries that AlphaStar has, is pretty much enough to keep that Immortal alive till the end of time. Phoenix is going to keep flying around being a pain. This Protoss player blinks after gets one of them. Nicely done. And then AlphaStar spots the 3rd base. A couple of Adepts also harassing into the main base of AlphaStar. So this Protoss player seems to be doing a good job right now. I mean, I fully believe he could have killed AlphaStar, but even the fact that he's just keeping this going despite not actually killing AlphaStar, this Adept's going to have a tall order in order to actually kill these probes. It's just not going to happen. So many shield batteries to heal them up. That's why you always harass with 2 Adepts. Of course, one of them already died. And we're just going to keep an eye on where this game's going to go from here. Phoenix fly on in. The Stalkers should be blinking underneath this. There we go. Maybe they can get 1 or 2 of the Phoenix now. That is nice. But ultimately, AlphaStar just continuing on with that Phoenix production, kind of playing like the Protoss mech, just going hard into Immortals, getting up another Robo, and then making Phoenix. And yeah, we'll just see where the game's going to go from here. A lot of gateways going up for the Masters Protoss player. And then just saturating up his 3rd base. So AlphaStar is definitely behind this game, I feel. There's no doubt about that. The Phoenix coming back into harass, but the Stalkers blink underneath her in quite a large quantity. But oh, he accidentally shoots his own probe. That ain't good. This is a bad day to be one of Blue's probes, apparently. Stalkers blink again underneath the Phoenix. One of them goes down, so AlphaStar not getting this harassment for free. 7 Phoenix have died this game, and Phoenix are pretty darn expensive, so that kind of hurts. Stalker should have blinked again in a second. Continuously chasing away these Phoenix. Ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder as this video is going on, if you're not subscribed to the channel, consider pressing that subscribe button since this game seems to show no sign of ending. I figure I'd just mention it. And yeah, we'll just keep an eye on where this game's going to go from here. I mean, Charge is on the way. Or Charge is finished up with a lot of Zealots that can be warped in on the mass gateways that this Protoss player has. 8 gates in total. That's a lot of Zealot production. the Phoenix going to be pulling him back once again. So AlphaStar is doing a good job with these Phoenix, getting constant pro kills, starting to even up the worker count despite being down 10 at one point. Recall actually gets used by the Protoss player in order to try and catch these Phoenix. That's kind of a cool play. AlphaStar actually just going to lift up one of the Stalkers, so maybe not the best recall there as he didn't recall enough of them. However, this Protoss player is still in a very, very solid spot. The fact that he's going to have charge and Stalkers against just really Immortals and Phoenix, I think that just the charge lots alone should be enough to win this fight. Now, AlphaStar is going to have a ton of Immortals, up at 5, going up to 7. That is no small amount of Immortals. But yeah, we'll just keep an eye on this game and see where it's going to go from there. Stalker's blinking underneath, going to hit one more of the Phoenix. So AlphaStar is continuously losing Phoenix. AlphaStar is also just on 2 bases still, and we're 11 minutes into the game, so main base is definitely starting to mine out. So no third for AlphaStar, just showing that it's just going to chill on 2 bases, basically. Phoenix doing their own thing, flying around still. Stalkers are in position to deal with them. AlphaStar does skirt away, though. Alright, mass zealots for the Protoss player, so he's built up a very healthy count of those. The Stalker's still trying to pursue away these Phoenix. These Phoenix have just been such a pain from AlphaStar at this point. Like, the annoyance factor that AlphaStar is putting in right now is a big one. These High Templar are going to feed back a bunch of the Phoenix. That's a cool play. They're going to have to morph themselves into Archons to avoid those Phoenix, and they actually do that. So nice move there from the Protoss player. Or I guess from the human Protoss player. And now the fact that he's got Archons, he's got himself a ton of Zealots, there's really nothing that AlphaStar has that's amazing against this composition. Stalker's in position, going to catch one of the Phoenix, going to catch a second, maybe a third. Do I see a third? Not quite. But still, this position is pretty darn good for the human Protoss player. Immortals of his own now going to be on the way. AlphaStar still is just on 2 bases. There hasn't been a 3rd base secured yet. AlphaStar just staying on 2 bases, just casually. Going to throw up a Dark Shrine at the 12-minute mark while still on 2 bases. That's not suspicious at all. But surprisingly, this Protoss player with his 2 observers, okay, he does actually have observers, so he should be fine. Of course, there's a chance that the Phoenix of AlphaStar can always pick those off if AlphaStar gets its own observers. So there's a chance that the Protoss player can handle that. Let's take a look here. AlphaStar killed the gateway that the Protoss player had, not the pylon, which is actually kind of interesting. No 3rd from the Protoss player just yet. No 3rd from AlphaStar, I mean. It's been a while since I cast a mirror PvP, apparently. I'm seeming a little bit rusty. But just keeping calling one of the Protoss players a Protoss player, like that specific LaughNgamez. But we take a look here. AlphaStar apparently has just been going for the most delayed 2-base play ever. So we're going to take a look. These mass Immortals are going to be moving across the map. And oh boy, is this a lot of Immortals. But this is going to be tough for AlphaStar to make the attack happen, I feel. There's a lot of Archons. There's higher supply from the mass Protoss player. He's got just the mass charge lots, the Archons, which will fare pretty darn well versus this composition, I feel. The Phoenix, a lot of dead supply aren't going to help out. Immortals are good units, but are they this good? Let's take a look. AlphaStar also has the Warp Prism to try and juggle its units. Lots of hallucinated Archons have even been tossed down to tank damage, but of course they're not going to last that long. The Protoss player is going to come on after AlphaStar right now. These Immortals are being juggled by the Prism. The best of AlphaStar's robotic ability. And the Immortals are doing a good job kiting here. However, they can only be microed so long. The Prism is just working overtime, picking up these Immortals and retreating, picking up the Immortals and retreating. Oh my gosh, this Prism is keeping these Immortals all alive as they are retreating. The Phoenix not really helping out at all. An Immortal is going to die. AlphaStar is doing a pretty darn good job keeping them alive. However, the retreat is going to go wee all the way home for AlphaStar, back to the wall of shield batteries to heal up these Immortals. That's going to be nice. But the problem still remains for the Protoss player that there is not, or for AlphaStar, pardon me, that there is not a 3rd base. And it's just going to get worse and worse for AlphaStar from here on out, I feel. The Immortals are good units, but I don't know if they're that good. And They have had to retreat once. They'll probably have to retreat again. The Prism gets picked off. This is nice for AlphaStar. Supply is kind of close here, but the problem is there's actually nothing the Phoenix can really do here. They can't pick up Archons no matter how hard they try. And because of this, AlphaStar is just pushed back to its natural once again. A third base has been attempted by AlphaStar, but that's going to have to be canceled. We do take a look at the actual army supply now, though, and since the Protoss player hasn't been reinforcing, hasn't been macroing up completely, he's got a lot of money in the bank. And let's take a look here. AlphaStar going to be moving out on the map with all these Phoenix. These Phoenix can actually massacre a lot of workers. I mean, I thought AlphaStar was just dead to rights, but with killing all these probes, that's really nice. Pulling back his opponent, AlphaStar is doing well. Loses a few Phoenix, but that's fine. I'd just like to see AlphaStar actually stop making Phoenix instead of rebuilding them. The third base is under attack that AlphaStar has been trying to secure. Can it save it? Looks like the answer is yes, which is thank gosh, because it's mined out completely on minerals in its main. Its natural is starting to mine out, so this third base is now AlphaStar's lifeline. The Phoenix is going to be picking up units here and there still. I mean, AlphaStar is making a game out of this. It's staying alive. Are we gonna have another insane comeback from AlphaStar? That would be nuts. We take a look here. Phoenix flying around, gonna lift up some more of these probes. Actually gonna kill a lot of probes as these Phoenix, they just tank so much damage. So the one cannon really does not do that much against them. We take a look. The Phoenix still just in the main base being a pain. AlphaStar with its absurd immortal count. Currently up to 12 immortals. We can talk about AlphaStar's mass immortals. However, if we take a look at the Masters Protoss player, he himself has massed the unit. However, it happens to be giant cotton balls, the Archon in mass. We currently see 12 Archons to 12 immortals. So pick your bet. In comes this Protoss player, the Masters Protoss, once more. Going to be charging on in. Oh, that Warp Prism could go down for AlphaStar. It does. It's not going to be able to juggle the units anymore. That's very concerning for AlphaStar. A couple of DTs being warped in to help out. However, there's observers on the opponent's side of the map. Probes are going to have to be pulled to buffer for the Immortals. I mean, the Immortals are doing significant work against these Archons, doing some good damage. The Immortals of his opponent being picked up. So the Phoenix are actually doing something useful, but I don't know if there's enough units here for AlphaStar to hold on. 3 opposing Archons remain, 4 Immortals for AlphaStar. I didn't actually expect the fight to be this close. 1 Archon remains. It's gonna go down, so AlphaStar stays alive, stays in the game with 3 Immortals, but the problem is there's a counterattack. Counter Zealots in the main base, counter Zealots in the natural. Now AlphaStar can kind of afford to lose probes in a weird roundabout way, just based on the fact that it really can just easily saturate the one mining base that it's got at this point. The Phoenix even lifting up a lot of those Zealots, so the Masters player going to be throwing away a lot of units. And somehow AlphaStar stays alive in this game, even picking off its opponent's observers, which is nice. Phoenix and observers, pretty good at killing observers of your opponent, and so that could give the DTs some more effectiveness. Meanwhile, the Masters Protoss hasn't been spending all of his money incredibly well. This is definitely the human factor showing here. He's got all sorts of money, but hasn't been spending it as well as he can, as it's very tough to multitask efficiently like that. The Masters Protoss is going to be throwing up a 5th base, not worried about dying at all, and that's kind of understandable based on the fact that there is just a ton of Phoenix and 4 Immortals having to push on in. However, this could be a little bit dicey as there is a Prism to juggle these units. The Phoenix can pick up pretty much all the Zealots while the Immortals try and dispatch the Archons. Is AlphaStar actually going to make this push work? Technically, AlphaStar is up on supply right now. The Phoenix are actually pretty good at killing the Zealots, but the question is, can the Immortals stay alive? A DT even starting to slice away on some of the probes, starting to work away on the units of the blue Protoss player, and if we take a look, there's actually no detection here for the blue Protoss. Where's his observers? Did he lose them all? He's got 1 that's coming over now. However, it's a little bit late, and is AlphaStar able to pick off that 1 observer? The answer is no. So the Masters Protoss will stay alive for now. However, AlphaStar can still be a pain with these Phoenix, can lift up a lot of probes and such. Gonna get a few more of those. The Masters Protoss economy is still leaps and bounds ahead that of AlphaStar. However, I mean, he's had a better economy pretty much this whole game at this point. And as a result, AlphaStar has still been giving him a tough time. This is unfortunate for AlphaStar, going to be losing that 1 Immortal, which was rallied across the map. And we take a look right now. The Masters Protoss going to be charging across the map, literally with a ton of charge lots. So let's take a look here. These Zealots just with a couple of Archons to support them. I don't know if that's enough on the ground to actually make an attack happen against all these Phoenix. The 12 Phoenix count that's still being built up. We have seen 18 Phoenix die this game, which is just an absurd amount when it's not actually been Phoenix versus Phoenix. It's just been Phoenix all day for AlphaStar. But take a look at this. All of a sudden, in comes the Masters Protoss. Once more, cannons are here for AlphaStar to help aid. The Phoenix are coming back so they can lift up the charge lots. The Immortals can still be juggled in the Prism. AlphaStar doesn't really make mistakes with that juggling, which is just giving it so much efficiency in these fights. The cannons pulling the Zealots' attention, saving some of the probes, in a sense. Phoenix still just going to be lifting up more and more. The charge lots lifting up opposing Immortals. However, AlphaStar is losing a lot of workers here. The probes running by the Archons. There's definitely going to be some of them dying there. And oh, is the third base going to die? The Phoenix not able to save it, not able to lift the Zealots. They can't even lift the Archons. So AlphaStar loses its third base and a huge, huge chunk of its economy. This Masters Protoss says, right, you can't have like any income at this point. So I just need to go home and stay alive on his flush 5 base economy. The Phoenix of AlphaStar moving on in. They're just sort of just going nuts, trying to get whatever they can done, as AlphaStar is significantly behind. +3 has also finished up for the Masters Protoss player now. So let's take a look. These Phoenix flying around, these Immortals. They're in position, but is there even the War Prism? There is the Prism still there to juggle these Immortals, so AlphaStar can still do work with that, but it hasn't quite been able to make. AlphaStar can try and make this push happen, but I'm just not sure we're going to be seeing it work. It's going to step on in with these Phoenix, with these Immortals. AlphaStar can try. But with Zealots going to be moving in for a counterattack, AlphaStar's abysmal economy is going to be taking a beating. The Protoss AI can try again, but I just don't see it happening. I think AlphaStar is going to lose this one. It's not going to be a miracle comeback once more. It definitely gave it the good old college try, but this Masters Protoss just played too well and did not let him fall. I mean, AlphaStar definitely gave this Masters Protoss a run for his money, but there's simply too much opponent here for AlphaStar to handle with. So, as AlphaStar is going to be kiting back, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this match, make sure to press that like button. If you're new to the channel and you haven't already, consider pressing that subscribe button, as the goal for the channel is to try and break 10,000 subs by the end of 2020. Of course, subscribe is also pretty good. It lets you get notified whenever there's a video. I also have a Discord for those of you that like to talk random things or just to talk Starcraft. And then, of course, big thanks to those of you that do support the channel via the membership program. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been LaughNgamez as we wait for AlphaStar to GG. Not sure what it's doing around this pylon with those Phoenix. We will wait. Gotta see that score screen. Where is it? AlphaStar's warped in. One Zealot. Gonna give it the good old try. I think every building is gonna have to be destroyed here, though. Is it gonna be every building? Let's take a look. Does AlphaStar have to actually be eliminated from this game? Not quite. GG gets called. AlphaStar is knocked out, and well played by the Masters player. Thanks for watching, everyone.